Hey guys, welcome back to Mountain Murders Offbeat.
It's Wednesday. Wonderful, wild Wednesday.
Oh yeah, whoa, bring it down a notch.
I know. What can I say? I'm so excited. I cannot hide it.
That caramel latte must be kicking in.
Was it caramel?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a honey vanilla. Well, thank you. I appreciate that you fetched me a latte. You're such a goodly husband.
Check it out. It was honey vanilla, and they knew what your drink was because I'd forgot.
They knew?
She knew. The girl knew. The young lady
at our coffee shop?
At our coffee shop knew your drink.
Oh my God, does that mean we're regulars?
I think so.
We have been going there for quite a while.
I think we've been accepted.
We're memorable people.
Into the fold, and I can't wait for the wine bar next door to open.
You say that with such sarcasm.
What the hell is a wine bar? Is that, I mean, really?
It's a bar, and you can have wine there.
Just wine? That's all y'all got?
Yes.
Or around here, people's going to walk in and be like, you got Bud Light in a bottle?
And then just swish it around, spit it out.
Oh,
I taste the malty yeast in this.
Talking about
Budweiser.
It must have been a dry summer for these grapes. I can taste it.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love those pretentious people.
Gosh.
Hey, if you're talented enough to be able to taste the oaky undertones, more power to you. But
and if you enjoy,
it seems very pretentious.
If you enjoy wine, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I enjoy wine. A couple bottles in, and I'm good.
But I will say, people must watch Sour Grapes on Netflix if you want to get a good look at the upper end of that crowd and how they act.
That was a very interesting
and the way they get fooled.
Docuseries.
Because everyone's buying their own bullshit. You know, everybody won't admit that something's wrong with this situation because they don't want to admit to themselves
like a modern day emperor with no clothes.
No, that's exactly what it is. Why did I pay $30,000 for this bottle of wine? Well, because someone convinced you that this bottle of wine's worth $30,000, basically.
Dylan, we talked about this the other day. Dylan bought a lottery ticket, which he rarely does, but he was feeling very confident that this was the big one and we were going to be like millionaires. He was so excited.
I had my lottery story.
He was sold on this ticket.
Yeah, because I was going on my way to work and I didn't have much money. And so I was going to buy this $10 ticket with some of my last money and then explain how I won millions and I didn't have to go to work at the mill. But it didn't work out.
But I just told him the reason he's not winning the lottery is that he's not mentally prepared for winning the lottery. Dylan would be the worst rich person on the planet.
You think I would still have sticker shock even if I had hundreds of millions?
You know you would. You don't even want to buy the $3 bread at the grocery store. And I'm like, dude, you're not living in dire straits here. We can afford the $3 bread, Dylan. And you're like, no, that's rich people bread. So what are you going to do? You're going to win millions of dollars? You're not going to want to spend it. You're going to hoard it away like a little squirrel in your mattress.
$3 bread and like $7 cheese. I mean, I got like $15 in this sandwich by the time I get the quality deli meats.
Well, Gruyere is really good, and we're going to buy it.
On that high-end mayo, this hand-churned.
The hand-churned mayo, yeah. So you gotta have the rich people mentality, Dylan. You gotta elevate your mind to a rich people thinking level.
So I have
before you can embrace winning the lottery.
So I have to invoke what In Vogue told me long ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Free your mind, and the rest will follow.
Okay, so when I start thinking like a rich person, I will win the lottery.
Exactly. I have a true crime news story that's a little crazy. You want to talk about this real quick?
Of course.
I read this story yesterday and was like, what the hell? The mother of an Instagram influencer who was found dead along the side of a Texas road Saturday morning spoke to the press about her daughter's death, saying that foul play must have been involved. I mean, obviously the family is really wrecked. They're devastated. It's very difficult. The woman, her name is Alexis Sharkey, 26-year-old, was last heard from on Friday, according to Houston police, and her nude body was found on Saturday off the side of a road in Houston, just a few miles from her home. There was a garbage truck driver who made the discovery.
Man, he's just kicking along to work or running his route, and there's a dead body.
But at this time, they don't really know exactly how she died. They're continuing to investigate. This is still a fairly new case. But the way that she was found, her mother says she would never do that to herself, and that it doesn't make any sense that it had to be foul play. So it suggests that it was not an accident and that there had to be more to what was done to her.
Oh, wow.
For her mother to make those comments?
Well, I mean, if someone's found nude dead on the side of a road, I mean, wouldn't you have to imagine it's foul play, right?
One of her friends had told KTRK-TV, which is in Houston, that in October, Sharkey had expressed on a trip that she feared for her safety and that she was petrified and scared for her life, but didn't elaborate on why she felt that way. And her husband had called to make the missing persons report, and from what I understand, they were separating or were heading for divorce, but it didn't seem like they had a bad relationship.
Seemed like it was very amicable breakup.
Yeah, I mean, she even had recently posted some pictures on Instagram of their Halloween costume, like she and her husband. So, anyway, it's just a crazy story because she's, the second Instagram influencer to have possibly been murdered in the last year?
I know who killed her. An obsessed follower of her Instagram.
You think so?
Yeah, possible.
Like that case out of, where was that? Virginia, where the young girl was murdered? The, teenage girl?
Yeah, I think so.
Wasn't it a guy who was kind of, obsessed with her Instagram page?
He was being overly influenced.
We sound like we don't know what we're talking about, and we don't. That's okay. Let's move along. We have a great Offbeat episode here. Dylan, are you ready to get into the meat of the story for today?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and drag it across my face?
Okay, I will do that gladly for an extra $5. Grace Brown grew up on a dairy farm in South Ottiselic. No, I'm not saying that correctly. South Ottiselic in Chenango County, New York. Growing up, Grace's nickname was Billy because she loved a song called Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey. It's the jam right there.
That's a classic.
The nickname stuck. As such, she would even sign letters, The Kid, as a reference to the outlaw Billy the Kid.
Well, I want a cool nickname like that.
Well, somebody called you Derail Dylan. That's a good one.
Well, no, that is a good one.
You really managed to derail everything in my life.
I've embraced that lifestyle, and on weekends, I'm a train jumping hobo.
By all accounts, Grace was a lovely girl with a keen sense of humor, sharp wit, vivacious, and fun-loving. She was, in fact, so fond of dancing, she was banned from membership at the Baptist church.
Ooh, that's a pretty strict Baptist church. Oh, my God, she lives in that town in Footloose.
Life in the fast lane. Grace was a slender, attractive brunette, and she styled her hair like that of a Gibson girl, which was a really common look at that time. It was kind of like the Rachel of the 1890s, I guess. But a Gibson girl, it's kind of like that fluffy bouffant that's really teased and kind of piled on the head and almost like a loose bun. I know if you saw a picture, you would totally recognize it.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Breaking out of the farm life, Brown decided to go to Cortland to work at the Gillette skirt factory as a fabric cutter, where she boarded with her married sister. And her sister just had a baby, so the idea was that Grace could also help out with the new baby. It was at the factory that she caught the eye of a man named Chester Gillette, who happened to be the nephew of the factory owner. Did I call him Gillette? It's Gillette, sorry. Gillette was originally from Montana, and he had bounced around from place to place before his wealthy uncle took him under his wing and hired him at the skirt factory. And though his uncle was wealthy, Chester was not. His family had once been, I guess, a little moneyed, but it was long gone. His parents had given their money up to go join the Salvation Army.
Man, one side of my family, they owned department stores.
I know, you came from money, Dylan.
No, I hadn't seen any of it.
I'm just saying, you came from money. How did you manage to fuck that up? Because we could have money right now.
I didn't fuck it up.
Your grandpa was rich.
People was getting lots in phone in my name before I was even damn 13 years old, okay? I didn't fuck it up. So how did your credit get fucked up before you even get credit?
I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you how.
Why'd I marry a loser?
Back in the day,
kidding.
people would do that. All they need is your name and social security number.
So people were committing identity fraud against you when you were just a small child?
that's what, oh my God, that's what it was.
The 1980s, such a fun time.
Yay.
Chester was not particularly interested in religion. Eventually, he attended Oberlin College, where he played basketball. His uncle paid his tuition, eventually leaving after only 2 years. So he wasn't feeling the college life. Chester took up some odd jobs before finally going to work for his uncle. And at the factory, Chester was kind of given like menial responsibilities to start out with, and he wasn't making a lot of money, even though he had the Gillette last name, which was, known around town in certain social circles.
Yeah, well, that would suck if you have this kind of famous last name for the area, but you're broke.
Yeah.
That would make it tough.
It's probably a good thing that you moved from Shelby.
Yeah, way to go.
How the pair met is not quite clear, but a long-standing legend is that the relationship began when Grace's ring slipped off her finger and fell onto the factory floor, and Chester scooped up the ring, he placed it on Grace's finger, and the rest was those animated cartoon hearts encircling the pair.
Aww.
Little bluebirds singing and chirping.
That's so sweet.
Children dancing in the streets.
So she thought, she was like, maybe she thinks he's got money.
Yeah, it's funny how you can think that, and then you find out they don't have any money. Upon meeting Grace, Chester began pursuing her in secret. Chester would court Grace at her sister's home, often canoodling in the parlor. Ooh la la. As a girl from a farm and a factory worker, she wasn't quite up to the standard Gillette's family expected from him. Also, he was considered to be a great catch in town. He was handsome and from a good family. He couldn't let people know that he was going with this lowly factory girl. It's the whole, I'm rich, you're poor, the world will never accept us, let's dance.
But he's not even rich. It's like these expectations from his family and caring what other people think. But he's just a regular guy, too.
You ain't shit. I know who you supposed to be.
Yeah, I know, right? Who the fuck you supposed to be?
It ain't like Chester's rolling up there in his, I don't know, Gucci pants. He ain't got on no Gucci slides.
I'm like, you're ashamed of being with me,
Yeah.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
You ain't got shit.
Well, Chester had traveled around the country, and he kind of considered himself to be much more sophisticated and worldly than Grace. He deemed her like a simple farm girl. She's never been out of this area kind of attitude. And though Chester was pursuing Grace behind closed doors, he was making the rounds in Cortland's upper crust, meeting socialites and such. Chester began making new friends, spending time playing tennis, riding bikes, and attending dances and parties. But he still visited Grace regularly for sex. Grace was tormented by the affair. Grace's sister leaves Cortland, so Grace gets a room in a boarding house, which makes it much easier for the two to have their sexual trysts. There's more access.
Well, yeah, and her sister and baby's not there.
No prying eyes. Grace starts seeing the relationship as more than just a fling. But for Chester, it is obvious that he's just looking for a good time.
Well, that's because, from her viewpoint, she really likes this guy and she thinks he really likes her. But, she should think she's worth more than that. She's not just a booty call. That's not really a fair way to treat someone unless you're both into it.
Thank you for that pep talk.
Yeah.
I wish I had talked to you 20 years ago.
That's my PSA.
When I was young and had low self-esteem.
To all you young ladies out there, you're worth more than that.
And young men.
And young men.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can do better.
Later, Chester would say he never had any intention of marrying Grace or being with her in the long term. He said he made no promises to her that they'd be together. In May of 1906, Brown revealed to Gillette that she was pregnant. She was 20 and he was 23. And at the time, unwed mothers were outcast from society. Brown went back to her family's farm where she and Gillette corresponded by letters in which she basically begged him to marry her. Please marry me, Dylan.
So she's begging him to marry her.
Yes.
Man, and this is just feeding. This guy sounds like he's got an ego anyway. And, I don't know. It's probably just feeding his ego.
Despite Chester's declarations of love and such, he was in no rush to make an honest woman out of Grace. His uncle often threw these lavish parties, and it was at one of these parties that Chester met another woman, a wealthy lawyer's daughter, and his relationship with Harriet Benedict got back to Grace, who was devastated.
He just wants his cake and eat it too kind of guy.
Well, doesn't everybody? Who wants a fucking cake if they can't eat it?
No, but you want to actually eat the cake, but still have the cake option of cake, right? Isn't that the point of the saying?
I just want my cake by the ocean.
I like that song.
I bet you do. You have the worst pop music taste.
What?
Ever.
It's like when you want to let me watch trash TV or listen to pop music.
Dylan has the worst taste in everything. I don't know how we're together because I'm such a snob.
So you don't want to.
You will literally watch trash and be like, "This is good. This is culture."
You don't want to watch the TLC show where I'm dating a mama's boy.
No,
And you don't want to see the hijinks and the drama that's going to play out in that.
Oh my gosh, because it's just so stupid.
Oh my God, that was good for one episode.
It's so stupid. It stresses me out. It's so stupid.
I just can't believe how those mamas be treating their sons, and you can't talk about her like that. It's not right.
Okay. Can we get back to the story now?
I'm over here listening to my Maroon 5 CD.
Oh, God, he loves Maroon 5. It was actually one of the things that turned me off about you when I met you.
But there's enough other stuff.
You were like, here's my Spotify playlist. And then it was like Maroon 5. And Dylan's all like, sugar. And he's all dancing like in the seat, Just like, okay.
And you will be loved. You don't like that song?
Wait, don't you have some Slayer on here or something?
Yeah, we can do Slayer too.
Okay. People started noticing Grace and Chester seemed to be fighting at work. Even though she had left and, gone back to the farm, this was kind of before that had happened. And she would often be seen crying by her coworkers. And she kept putting pressure on Chester, and he was keeping her at arm's length. And then at that, later, I guess it was June 15th, is around the time that she moved and went to her parents' farm. But before that, people are noticing this behavior, and she begins sewing garments for her wedding when she gets back to her parents' house.
So she's pregnant. She's ready to get married.
And Chester is relieved that Grace is gone, and he begins living it up. Hanging out at the uncle's house, spending time with the socialites, riding bikes, playing tennis,
Well,
frolicking.
Chester doesn't have to be with her. Just because she's pregnant, and I know this is, back in the day, a long time ago, when you would feel pressures to do the right thing and that. But he should just be honest with her. He should be straight up.
So Chester has no backbone.
Well, no, and he's playing both sides, and he's doing whatever, he wants. He's getting something out of it. But Grace is on a whole nother trajectory with what she thinks this relationship is or could be.
She wrote letters that were begging him to please come take her away, which he ignores. He thinks he's rid of her. Out of sight, out of mind. Eventually, Grace threatened to expose Chester, saying if her life was to be ruined, so would his.
Oh, my God, this is a classic.
Gillette finally wrote her that he would take her away on a romantic outing to the Adirondacks in July. Legend has it that Brown either assumed he was going to go on this trip and propose to her, or that they might be eloping on this trip.
So in her mind, finally, we're going to do this.
He's going to make an honest woman out of me.
We're going to be together, and everything's going to be
great. We're going to raise this baby. We're going to raise it wild like a squirrel.
Oh, my God, a little squirrel baby?
On July 11th of 1906, the couple arrived at the Glenmore Inn, a hotel on Big Moose Lake, which is in Herkimer County. Chester checked in under an assumed name, Carl Graham, carrying a suitcase and a tennis racket. He took Grace down to the water, where the pair rented a rowboat for the day.
That's very romantic.
I know. You've never taken me on a rowboat.
I don't even...
Or recited a sonnet.
Google rowboat rentals near me. Please do that.
Oh, we only live in the mountains where there's like 100 lakes, but okay.
There's no rowboat rentals.
That's not even true.
It's
you
not
can go
true.
down to Lake Junaluska and rent a fucking paddle boat, bro. And you've never done that, and it's like 5 miles from our house.
Oh, my God. You want to...
Do you hear him being a liar on air? He's a piece of shit.
You want to paddle around in in Lake Junaluska. It's kind of
I
gross.
think you might be too fat for a rowboat anyway.
Yeah, there's going to be all these other issues that arise beyond my undying love for you.
Yeah, I feel like you're the kind of person that's going to get out in the middle of the lake in this rowboat, and then you're going to be like, I have to take a shit.
Really?
Yeah, that's about how romantic you are. Other boaters spotted the two on the water at various points during the day, and the couple was even seen picnicking on the lake shore.
If you love me, you'd shit before you came.
Exactly.
Oh, my God.
The pair did not return the rental boat that evening, but the inn was kind of accustomed to people not returning the boats, misjudging the size of the lake and that sort of thing. But the next morning, when the couple still was unaccounted for, the inn organized a search party. And eventually, searchers find the body along with the overturned boat. And when I say the body of Grace Brown. And it was assumed that she had died in a boating accident, but her male companion could not be located.
So in their eyes, there's been an accident, and he's likely, maybe dead too. We just got to keep looking to find him.
The coroner examining Grace's body discovered she was pregnant, also noting some suspicious markings on her face and head. The coroner suspected Grace had been murdered. Investigators look into her background and learn of her affair with Chester.
So now they have someone who they could be looking for.
Potentially.
A potential.
Who was this Carl Graham?
Yeah.
Because remember, he used a fake name.
Yeah, and there's probably some overzealous resort employees just find Carl Graham. He can explain all this.
Exactly. And then they find a light bill that's been put in Carl Graham's name, but then you find out Carl Graham's only 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his name must be Carl Packer. What the fuck, people?
3 days after, Chester, still using the name Carl Graham, was arrested. Now, at first, he claims Grace did accidentally drown when the boat capsized in the water. But he changed his story later, stating that she was so upset about his refusal to marry her that she flung herself into the water committing suicide.
Well, I'm going to say if either of those things happened, why didn't you report it?
This still didn't explain the wounds on her head, which were very likely committed by a tennis racket or an oar.
Or an oar.
Well, an oar.
Okay.
Now, by November 12th of 1906, Chester was on trial for the murder of Grace Brown. The prosecutor nailed Chester as a heartless brute who took advantage of this poor, virginal girl getting her pregnant, then abandoning her so he could run around with wealthier society girls.
Well, that's not a very good picture he's painting of Chester.
Grace's letters were used as evidence, and her letters were so pitiful and heartbreaking that literally everyone in the courtroom was crying.
Oh, just basically begging him to further their relationship, acknowledge her importance to him, and all this stuff?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh.
Chester's lawyer tried to play it up like Chester was a victim. He was a scared boy who had gotten in too deep with this woman. She accidentally tipped the boat over, and he was the real victim in all of this.
I mean, I could see that.
What an asshole.
I could see poor Chester.
I don't know how defense attorneys can do this type of thing.
Well, I mean, the first thing's always said is everyone deserves, a good, solid defense. But, I mean, in some cases, sometimes when it seems, I don't know, some of these defenses they don't seem to think they're innocent.
Like painting this guy as he's the real victim.
Well,
I mean,
boys.
What the fuck?
Boys will be boys, and sometimes people get drowned. I mean, what the hell kind of defense is that?
You can hire Dylan. He's an unlicensed attorney.
Yeah, I
ready
will.
to act on your behalf in court.
Well, I have listened to a lot of true crime podcasts of all varying sorts, and I have a lot of good ideas.
The jury found Chesty guilty within a few hours. So not only is he guilty, but he's guilter, Dylan.
So Chester Gilter has been found guilty.
Yes.
In a very rather short deliberation.
Chester was sentenced to die in the electric chair, and after losing an appeal, he was put to death on March 30th of 1908.
Oh my gosh.
So 2 years after. Swift justice.
Well, I mean, I don't know what to say. Do you think Chester struck her in the head and It's when you're typical, she's pregnant, she's threatening to ruin my other life, and I need to take care of her. I mean, do you feel pretty confident about that?
Yeah, I do. I think Chester's just a piece of shit, honestly.
You think that was probably the entire reason for the trip, get her somewhere remote? Come on. He
He had
registered.
ample opportunity to reject her, to let her know, communicate his feelings. At any point, he could have stopped fucking around with this girl, knowing he wasn't interested in being with her.
Long before she got pregnant.
Exactly.
Not that her getting pregnant justifies anything he did.
Making her a side chick, seeing this other woman who's wealthier, has more influence, who he feels is a more appropriate match.
And his family probably does too.
He could have just been honest.
And he registered there under an assumed name.
Yes.
So, I mean, he was obviously up to no good.
Think of all the problems that could be solved in the world if people just communicated with each other.
It's true. And you know, also, you got to accept that fact if someone communicates that with you. Because sometimes these situations can be reversed. Someone can do exactly what you're saying, communicate, I don't want to be with you. See, what you're describing is almost kind of what the Jodi Arias.
It reminds me of Jodi Arias.
What he did with her, and I'm not victim blaming, but he created the perfect storm with someone with a personality like Jodi Arias to put himself in harm's way. By not just being honest, you know, it's obvious
continuing to have sex with her,
she expected
lead her on.
something else from the relationship.
Yes.
You're not willing to provide that. It's not only you're not unable, you just don't want to. You're unwilling. And just cut it off clean, bro. And then call the damn cops when she starts stalking you, because that's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, it'll be a lot of misery and horrible things could be removed from society.
And, you know, not to victim blame Grace Brown. I mean, she was kind of a young, innocent woman, but at the same time, girl, you don't got to give it up to this guy.
Well, see,
Come
that's
on
the
now.
thing. Without victim blaming her, we can say she was worth more than that, and she shouldn't allow this guy to treat her like that.
Exactly. She
And-
should have been like, put a fucking ring on it, bro.
No, it'd be like, you don't even get a chance to put a ring on it no more.
You don't get this milk. This cow's not for free.
No, it's not. And you can quit drinking it.
I feel like you've been used before, Dylan. You sound like someone who understands the struggle of someone taking advantage of you and using you for your body.
Well, no. I did used to operate an establishment known as Dylan's Meat Market. And we had the finest cuts around, I must say. Very savory,
Well, that sounds like people were paying for that.
succulent
Were
juices.
you just giving up your meats for free?
Well, you know, I have for years been embroiled in a court battle with Ingalls for a trademark slogan they use, the best meats in town. That for many years before Ingalls came to be.
People who aren't from this area don't understand that Ingalls is like a market, like a grocery
Ingalls is a
store.
grocery store,
Yeah.
a big grocery store, which makes it all the more laughable that they would take a phrase that for years, for possibly generations, has been associated with Dylan Packer, the best meat in town. You know what, guys? Every time we go in this Ingalls, they literally have that across the wall above the butcher section.
Dylan Packer has the best meats in town.
They have my phrase, my trademark phrase, best meat in
Is
town.
that why every time we walk around the grocery store, you always seem to have like a weird erection
Yes.
in your sweatpants?
And she does not think this is funny every single time I make the same joke every time we're in the store. She thinks this is as funny as she thinks it is now.
Well, I just don't want to be seen with you in public, so that's part of the problem.
But it's true.
Can you just put that little thing away and we can continue with our podcast?
Hey, you know what? It's not about quantity, it's about quality.
He doesn't have that going for him either.
Shit.
So the movie A Place in the Sun is based on this story, starring Elizabeth Taylor, Montgomery Clift, and Shelley Winters, which I happened to watch last night on Amazon Prime.
So, how was it?
Well, it's included in your Prime membership, so if you want to watch the movie, you don't have to pay for it. The movie actually portrays the Grace character as really kind of annoying and makes you almost feel like sorry for Montgomery Clift, who is the Chester character in the film.
So it's almost sympathetic to Chester.
Right. Shelley Winters is playing the Grace character, and she's just really annoying and whiny.
Oh, so you're
Why
almost
don't you love me, Chester?
Oh my God. You're almost rooting against her?
Yeah, I was like, just hit her in the fucking head with that paddle, bro.
Fast forward to the part where you murder this poor girl.
Well, and then they portray like Elizabeth Taylor's character. She's so beautiful on screen. And
is she the
in
socialite side
love with
piece?
him, and you can just see the great times they have together. So it's almost painting this picture like you want him to be with Elizabeth Taylor, but then you've got this annoying woman who's like, "You don't love me."
Well, I mean, if you look at what time period this movie was made, it's not a surprise
Yeah, I
that
think it came out in like 51.
it has a pretty heavy male slant to the whole situation and story. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
But I highly recommend checking it out. It's a good movie, and it is black and white, so I know some people maybe aren't into that, but I think it's a good film, so worth a watch.
So besides, she was worth more than that. She shouldn't let anyone treat her like that. Chester's a total dick.
Yeah.
I mean, just cold-bloodedly, I think, premeditated the entire thing to get her somewhere quiet and, removed from their homes to murder her.
Well, if you'd like to read a book to get further information, it includes a lot of letters and documents from the case. An American Tragedy by Theodore Dreiser is a good book to read about the murder of Grace Brown.
Well, that's sad. And he killed he killed a little baby.
Her ghost allegedly haunts the Big Moose Lake.
Well, I think it should.
A lot of people have claimed to have seen Grace, a woman with the big bouffant hair, the Gibson girl hair, and like an old-timey dress, walking around the lake mysteriously.
Oh, it's like a lady.
Apparition.
It's like the lady of the lake.
The lady of the lake.
With some nice hair.
With some good hair.
Yeah.
We should try the Gibson girl style with your hair, Dylan. It's getting pretty long.
Think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, my barber was out of town last week for Thanksgiving. He was out of town hunting. Hope he had fun. But I will say, I'm looking pretty scraggly.
He was hunting in West Virginia.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I know I've had conversations with your barber about hunting in West Virginia. What do you think about that?
What if it's like the game, surviving the game, and he was hunting people, not white-tailed deers? Oh, my God. Man, I got something to talk about in the barber chair.
You're going to ask him that?
I'm going to ask him if he was hunting people, if he's a part of some elite,
hunt club?
Illuminati hunt club.
Like in Hostel.
Oh, my God. Yeah, and he'll have like the tattoo. I should keep my eyes peeled for the tattoo.
You should look out for that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
He still cuts good hair, though.
Well, thank you for tuning in to this wackadoodle episode of Offbeat that went from a true crime story into Dylan speculating that perhaps his barber is involved in some human hunt club. Okay.
Well, I mean, you got to feel alive. And after you've been a successful barber for so many years, what are you going to do to still get the blood pumping? Besides hunt humans in West Virginia.
You can no longer get the thrill from shaving someone with a straight razor. You've got to immediately go to like a human hunt club.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there you go.
That makes perfect sense, Dylan.
Yeah.
I love that each week, not only once a week, but twice a week, me, along with this wonderful audience we have, they get a glimpse into your mind. We're so fortunate.
You guys are, because
and this week after Thanksgiving, I just want to give thanks that we all have this opportunity.
Well, I must say there's been a couple of survey tests I took on Facebook, which are very, very accurate, known to be very accurate. And it said that I am wired like 1 in 1,000 people think like me. And the more and more I get to open up to you and our listeners, I'm coming to believe it's true.
Okay. Well, I also want to know from the Facebook test, which Disney princess are you?
Ariel.
Which Golden Girl are you?
Oh, I'm totally Blanche.
Which Game of Thrones character are you?
I'm Neil Stark.
Okay.
I
thought his name was Ned. Is Neil like his stupid half-brother?
Yeah, don't confuse me with the star Mr. Sean Bean. Don't confuse me with him. This was his brother who never made it.
He's on the cutting room floor. Neil?
He's still on the road. He didn't make it to the whole gathering because he's always late.
Because he was busy bowling?
Because he drinks too much ale.
Exactly. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Dylan. Unplugged.
Yeah,
I'm about to unplug his mic right now.
Yeah, she's not going to let me speak the rest of the evening. If I'm lucky, I'll get one beer out of it.
Well, make sure you check out episode 118 our brand new true crime mountain murders episode, Peace, Love, and Murder, the Rainbow Killings. Very interesting story.
It is. It's a sad story.
And thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Offbeat. We'll be back this weekend and promise we'll be on time with another Mountain Murders episode.